And the Director of the Market Operations Service from the Energy Regulatory Commission. Please welcome Director Sharon Montaner.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, to my colleague in the government, Director Patrick from the DOE, esteemed leadership of Globe. Thank you. And to all of you here today, good morning. And first of all, in behalf of the Energy Regulatory Commission, we'd like to thank Globe for inviting us in this opening ceremony and sharing with you the journey towards the energy transition and the regulatory framework covering that journey. Okay. So the Energy Regulatory Commission, before I proceed, I'd just like to introduce the ERC because a lot of you do not really know what is the mandate of the ERC. So we were created by virtue of the Electric Power Industry Reform Act as an independent quasi-judicial regulatory body. And our mandate is to promote market competition, ensure customer choice, protect consumer interests, and we do this when we say protect consumer interest through the rate setting, which is a reasonable rates, setting of reasonable rates. And when we say also protecting consumers, we make sure that the electricity coming to the households or to the consumers are meets the standards in terms of quality. Okay, ensure least cost pricing in electricity and penalize abuse of market power. So the commission is a collegial body composed of our chairperson and 4 commissioners. Okay, just a glance of the energy sector. To date, we regulate an industry worth 4.13 trillion, covering the generation, transmission, distribution, and supply sectors. More than these figures, these represent the electricity that powers hospitals, keeps classrooms open, enables businesses to thrive, and keeps households connected. So, and when we talk about keeping the lights on for millions of Filipinos, we cannot help but talk about sustainability and the energy transition, or powering all Filipinos for a safer future. And for us Filipinos, it started when the Renewable Energy Act was passed into law in 2008. The RE Act provided for different incentives, both fiscal and non-fiscal, to encourage the development and promotion of renewable energy in the country. And in fact, since the landmark law was passed in 2008 and until the end of 2024, a total of 3.752 gigawatts of capacity was added, and this is for an estimated of 363 billion of investments. These additions also created green jobs of 357,459 with equivalent estimated GHG emission reduction of 38 million tons of CO2 per year. For solar alone, okay, the country only had 1 megawatt of installed capacity, one plant in Mindanao before the enactment of the RE Act. Now there is a total of 2.2 gigawatts of capacity as of end of 2024. Okay? And that accounts for 58% of the 2.7 gigawatt total additional RE installations. So where does that put us in terms of generation mix? This is a data coming from the Department of Energy. So as of end of 2024, the renewable energy mix in terms of installed capacity is 24%. In terms of dependable capacity, it's 31.2%. And in terms of power generation, which is actually the power going into your homes, it's 22.20%. And where do we want to go? This was also presented by Director Patrick earlier. It's 35% RE share by 2030 and 50% by 2040. So the Philippines is indeed going through an ambitious and non-negotiable energy transition driven by an unequivocal commitment to a clean and sustainable future. Okay. So for all market participants, understanding the regulatory landscape is crucial. Both the EPIRA and the RE Act have provided for ready markets for and offtake arrangements for the development of renewable energy, with the goal of increasing supply while maintaining security, reliability, and diversity. And for this, we in ERC are looking at two parallel tracks of increasing supply and at the same time managing the demand. For the programs to increase supply, of course, under the RE Act, the feed-in tariff program kick-started the development of RE. The feed-in tariff is an incentive which provides for a guaranteed tariff for all renewable energy generation. So a total of 1,411 megawatts of capacity came under this program. The Green Energy Auction Program is likewise an innovative reverse auction mechanism used by the Department of Energy for procuring renewable energy capacities. And to date, a total of 4 auctions were conducted by the DOE, and the ERC's role was to set the gear prices, the bid cap for these auctions. The total capacity awarded for the 4 rounds of auction is 20 gigawatts for 161 projects. So we continue also to evaluate power supply agreements with distribution utilities because these still remain viable to encourage RE, and the Commission has committed to align the CSP results in our evaluation of the rate application. Okay, being merchant plants is also another market for this RE development. They can sell their generation in the wholesale electricity market with where merit order or the ranking from bids from lowest to highest are being practiced based on the price determination methodology approved by the DOE. And lastly, on the supply side, the retail market, which is a growing market, and another avenue to sell electricity. And to date, there are a total of 54 retail electricity suppliers operating with 30 identified local RES. As the Director of the Market Operations Service, I believe in this basic principle for a robust economy. True energy security is not just about sufficient supply, it is fundamentally about empowering every consumer with the right to choose that supply. And that is the power to choose, and that is the real essence of customer choice. And when we talk about customer choice, we cannot help but talk about energy democracy. By energy democracy, we mean participatory, decentralized, and empowering the choice of where to source electricity supplies, including its ownership. So our work in ERC is guided by the principles of EPIRA and the robust implementation of our customer choice programs, which now offers consumers and institutions a direct path to choose supply and directly linking consumer choice to our sustainability goals. All these, together with the energy efficiency program of the DOE, are tools to manage the demand level so that not all of the requirements are taken from the grid supply. Okay, and some of these are the self-generating facility, which was already there since EPIRA. However, when it was set up in the EPIRA, kadamihan po nito backup supply na diesel gensets. Okay, pang backup supply. But now po, it's a different setup. It's really putting up RE facilities, mostly solar, and may konting biomass and run-of-river hydro. Nagkataon lang na may river dun sa lupa, sa farm. Okay? To date, there's a total of 240 renewable energy installations na pang self-generating, pang own use na, for a total capacity of 162 megawatts. When the RE Act was passed into law, it mandated the ERC to set up the net metering program. The net metering program drastically changed the landscape of how we see energy is set up. Diba? tayo dati one-way flow of electricity, which is get electricity from our distribution utility. With the net metering program, there is now a two-way flow of electricity where consumers can set up RE facilities in their homes, in their businesses, use that electricity, and even have the capacity to export yung sobra unused electricity to the grid. Okay? So as of September, a total of 18,983 customers, the whole country, have availed of this program with a total capacity of 178.6 megawatts. But the Commission also knows the limitations of net metering. Under the RE Act, it's only up to 100 kilowatt installation, and it's only for those facilities owned by the customer and used by the customer. The Commission then developed the Distributed Energy Resource Program so that all these facilities, more than 100 kilowatt up to 1 megawatt, can now enjoy the same setup as the net metering. And there are also other commercial arrangements allowed. So makakita na po kayo ng mga businesses na merong RE facilities in their rooftop, but the arrangement is purely lease. Diba? Nililease lang nila yung facility, or meron namang iba, mga lease to own. So the DER rules allows for other commercial arrangements. Okay? So what's in it for us consumers? First of all, ang malaking benefit po is the avoidance of getting from your distribution utility. Kasi po, when we say you avoid paying the retail rate, ang retail rate po natin, here in Meralco franchise area, it's about 12 to 13 pesos per kilowatt hour. When you produce your own electricity, you avoid paying that retail rate, that equivalent retail rate. And on top of that, if you have excess that you cannot anymore use, you're not using anymore, then you will be paid the blended generation rate kasi parang binenta mo yun kay distribution utility. And how much is that blended generation rate? About 7 to 8 pesos per kilowatt hour. Okay? And on top of that, okay, you earn renewable energy certificates. And I hope very soon that the DOE will open the renewable energy market for voluntary selling and buying of RE certificates. Okay, and very soon also, the ERC will be coming up with a regulatory framework for expanded solar rooftop program of the DOE, and that will open up peer-to-peer na selling of your solar generation to mga neighbors mo. Okay? So, exciting, di po ba? Okay, now, if you're not into putting up your own facility, ownership of the RE facility, you still have a choice under the retail competition and open access. Okay? The retail market is another avenue where we can exercise energy democracy. Our COA gives the consumers the choice of where to source your electricity from a growing number of retail electricity suppliers. And similar to our COA, the RE Act provided for the Green Energy Option Program developed by the DOE that gives consumers that choice to source 100% of your RE from electricity from pure renewable energy. And as I said, this is a growing market. Just last November 4, the ERC announced the significant extension of the CREM, the lowering of the contestability threshold from 500 to 100 kilowatt. So the progress achieved under our COA is quantifiable, and the numbers reflect growing market participation and choice. As of August 2025, we have a total of 3,781 eligible customers meeting the threshold of our COA. But with the reduction in the threshold of up to 100 kilowatt, there is an additional of 12,115 customers that were qualified, that will be qualified and will reap the benefits of the ARCOA. Okay? And not only that, there is the retail aggregation program so that if you cannot meet the threshold, you can aggregate your demand to meet the threshold and still reap the benefit of ARCOA. And when we say reap the benefit of our COA, one of the key measures of success for competition is price. Okay, as of the end of second quarter of 2025, the weighted average price for CREM is 5.68 pesos per kilowatt hour, and that is way below the 7 to 8 pesos blended generation rate that we pay with our DUs. And for those participating in the Green Energy Option Program, the WAP is slightly higher because there are conditions that it has to be 100% RE, including the replacement power, so that the weighted average price as of the same period is at 6.04 pesos per kilowatt hour, but still way below the blended generation rate of your DUs. So lastly, I would like to highlight this future energy scenario capsulized by the Department of Energy under the Philippine Energy Plan of 2023 to 2050. From this slide, clearly our path to a secure energy future through the energy transition relies on policy and technological innovation. Innovation facilitates the integration of RE sources with battery storage for solar and wind, and smart grid technologies for efficient energy distribution. Imagine putting up batteries together with the net metering or the DER. Instead of selling to the grid at 7 to 8 pesos, you keep the excess in your battery, you store it in your battery, use it during times when there is no production from the sun. And then you can avoid 12 to 13 pesos. Okay? So recently, we also approved the amendments to the Advanced Metering Infrastructure Rules, enabling real-time data exchange and empowering consumers to monitor their power usage. And this is because we are preparing for the lowering of the threshold up to the household level. However, I want to underscore that to achieve the energy transition, a whole-of-nation approach is necessary. This means bringing together government, the private sector, civil society, and citizens to collectively achieve energy security, affordability, and sustainability. And for our part, as consumers, our contribution is to exercise our power to choose and be part of the solution. And for us naman in the ERC, we stand ready to fulfill our role, not as a passive regulator, but as an active regulator, committed to fairness, transparency, and consumer protection. And that's the end of my speech. Thank you, and kabu.
Right, thank you so much, Director Sharon Montaner from the ERC. Thank you so much, ma'am.